morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline 24th of June 2023. This week's headlines: Uganda school attack. Dozens of pupils were killed by militants linked to the Islamic State group. At least 4 Israelis were killed in West Bank shootings. 6 Palestinians were killed by a military raid in Jenin. Canada-based pro-Khalistan leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar was shot dead. In Poland, thousands marched in Warsaw for LGBT rights ahead of elections. The Church of England says its new abuse compensation scheme is the broadest yet. The Church of England also sacked its independent abuse panel. In the UK, belief in God has finally dipped below 50%. Millions of Mormon crickets invade Nevada town. The band Steps refuses to play in Dubai. And the mysterious story of the multiplying host. Nearly 40 pupils have been killed at a school in western Uganda by rebels linked to the Islamic State group, IS. 5 militants attacked the Lubiriha Secondary School in Mpondwe at around 20:30 on Friday. They entered dormitories, setting fire and using machetes to kill and maim the pupils. The Allied Democratic Forces, based in the Democratic Republic of Congo, have been blamed, and a manhunt is underway. Uganda's information minister said 37 students were confirmed dead, but he didn't give their ages. 8 people remain in a critical condition. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres condemned the appalling act and called for those behind it to be brought to justice. 4 people were killed and 4 more were wounded in shootings near the settlement of Eli in the West Bank, Israeli authorities and emergency services said on Tuesday. It was the deadliest attack on Israelis since January. One of the suspected gunmen was killed at the scene by a civilian, and the second was killed by Israel Defense Forces, IDF, and Israel Security Agency forces after they tracked down the car he was travelling in. Hamas, the Palestinian militant movement, claimed the 2 gunmen as members, calling the attack a natural response to the Israeli raid on Jenin a day earlier. That left 6 Palestinians dead. 6 Palestinians, including a 15-year-old boy, were killed by Israeli forces during a raid into Jenin refugee camp. An Israeli helicopter fired missiles after Palestinian militants targeted troop carriers with explosives. The Israeli army said it had to mount a logistical operation under fire to remove several stranded vehicles. 7 Israeli soldiers and border police officers were wounded, 3 of them moderately. It is the first time in years, possibly since the height of the Second Palestinian Intifada, or uprising, 2 decades ago, that the Israeli military has used attack helicopters on the West Bank. The helicopter reportedly fired at militants on the ground, while Israeli forces tried to extract soldiers. Canada-based pro-Khalistan leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar was shot dead at the Guru Nanak Sikh Gurdwara in the Punjabi-dominated Surrey city of British Columbia province. Nijjar, who was the president of Guru Nanak Sikh Gurdwara in Surrey, was declared a wanted terrorist by the Indian government due to his involvement in various acts of violence and subversive activities. Recently, Nijjar's name also featured on a list released by India naming 40 other designated terrorists. Tens of thousands of people marched in Warsaw's Pride Parade on Saturday to demand equality for LGBT people ahead of the Polish elections. The country's right-wing government, which is seeking re-election, has focused on opposing what it calls LGBT ideology in previous campaigns. But Warsaw's mayor vowed that the LGBTQ community would always be safe, and I hope that you will all be safe in Poland, Rafał Trzaskowski from the Liberal Opposition Party told crowds. We want to show that today diversity, minority rights means Europe is open, Europe is tolerant, he said at a press conference before the march. Same-sex relationships are not legally recognized in Poland, and the country already bans same-sex couples from adopting children. There are also obstacles facing transgender people who seek to formalize their transition. Poland's ruling conservative nationalist Law and Justice Party says that extending marriage and adoption to gay couples threatens traditional family structures and is harmful for children. The Church of England has announced plans for what it says is the broadest and most ambitious compensation scheme of its kind for victims of abuse. But survivors waiting years for redress say they had hoped for more details on when the scheme will be rolled out. It will be open to anyone who has faced physical, sexual, emotional, or spiritual abuse by someone representing the church. But some fear being re-traumatized by the application process. Meanwhile, the Church of England has sacked a panel of experts who provided independent oversight of how it dealt with abuse. The Archbishop's Council confirmed it was ending the contracts of all 3 board members, Acting Chair Meg Munn, Jasvinda Sanghera and Steve Reeves. The latter 2 claimed the church had been obstructive and interfered with their work. In a statement, it referred to a widely reported dispute between 2 members of the Independent Safeguarding Board and the church. Ms. Sanghera and Mr. Reeves claimed in April that the church had refused to share data with them and denied them their own computers. They told the newspaper, Telegraph, that there had been clear interference with their work and described working with church officials as an uphill battle. Fewer than half the people in the United Kingdom, 49%, still believe in a God. That's a stunning drop from the 75% who believed in 1981. This is according to new data from the World Values Survey, an international study conducted by the Policy Institute at King's College London. See these data slides. Millions of Mormon crickets have invaded the town of Elko, Nevada, as they enter their migratory phase. The insects, which technically aren't crickets, are members of the Katydid family and don't sting or bite, but they can cause widespread damage to crops and other vegetation. Their name comes from the invasion of the crops of Mormon settlers in Utah in the 1800s. And the Miracle of the Gulls is an 1848 event often credited by Latter-day Saints for saving the Mormon pioneers' second harvest in the Salt Lake Valley. While absent in contemporary accounts, later accounts claimed that seagulls miraculously saved the crops by eating thousands of insects that were devouring their fields. On March the 5th, I'm sorry it's only just come to my attention, there was a Eucharistic miracle, the multiplying of the host, during the distribution of communion. It was reported by an extraordinary minister who was a last-minute substitute for the pastor. See this video.
We had something happen. It's hard to say, actually. God provides, and it's funny how God provides. And sometimes it comes in a weird way, in a mystical way, in a strange way. And one of our Eucharistic ministers was running out of hosts, and yet they didn't. And suddenly there was more hosts in the Saborium. Just God duplicated himself in the Saborium. It's God provides. It's strange how God does that. And it happened. And it was noted by one of our Eucharistic ministers that was giving out communion to you guys today. It's really, really cool when God does those things. And it's really, really cool when we realize what he's done. And it just happened today. Very powerful, very awesome, very real, very shocking, but also it happens. It happens. And today it happened. Where they were running out of hosts, and all of a sudden, more hosts just were there. So today, not only do we have the miracle of the Eucharist, we actually had a bigger miracle. It's pretty cool.
Steps, the band, turned down a show in Dubai over a contract clause which stated they were not allowed to mention sexuality. Band member Ian H. Watkins has said he told Chippenham Pride in Wiltshire he was at a point in his life where morals were more important than a pot of gold gig. Homosexuality is illegal in Dubai, and Watkins said nobody had known steps were offered to show in the Middle East, but he said it was important to raise the issue. This week's Free Thought Hour features the return of a previous guest, Matthew Sabatine. He appeared on the show about 2 years ago when he had reported that he had abandoned his Christian religion in favour of atheism. The news is he's gone back to Jesus. This will be interesting to talk about. Don't forget to watch Views on the News, where a panel of opinionated people get to say what they think about this very news. You have been watching Global Atheist News. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe.